Speaker. I didn't say it very loudly though. Speaker, families in Pittwater are feeling the squeeze, and they are feeling it every single month. The recent decision by the Reserve Bank of Australia to lift the official cash rate by 25 basis points to 3.85% in February will push mortgage repayments higher again. And when rates rise, repayments rise on mortgages almost immediately. In Pittwater, this has a real impact. We have one of the highest rates of mortgage holders in New South Wales, and many families are carrying large mortgages simply to secure a home near their work or their children's school and in their community. Even a small rate increase can mean hundreds of more dollars every month. And then, of course, they're also battling inflation on groceries, on fuel, on everything, and on home insurance. And the home insurance, I will just mention, I've mentioned it before, it is a big issue. It's fast outpacing inflation. And in 2023, home insurance premiums jumped between 9 and 28% as reported by the Actuaries Institute. This is huge. It has led to affordability issues, which worsened again in 2024, and up to 30% of homes are experiencing home insurance affordability stress, and that's significant, particularly in my electorate pockets where there's flooding or bushfire risk. Some people have, home insurance in double digits. These increases are being driven by climate change and more extreme and frequent weather events, and are disproportionately impacting those communities I mentioned. Whether you listen to the Insurance Council of Australia, the Actuaries Institute, or the Reserve Bank, the message is consistent. The only way we can reduce the long-term insurance pressure is to stop baking in future risk, which means not building in flood-prone or bushfire-prone areas, and investing in resilience and adaptation measures. And I do note and call out the government's decision that was reported a couple of weeks ago or last week for approving more development of homes in floodplains. When insurance premiums increase, it doesn't just hurt families, it also feeds inflation as well, and that becomes a vicious cycle. Yet, Mr. Speaker, while families are tightening their belts, we must ask whether the state is doing everything it can to relieve pressure, and I want to draw attention to Queensland's approach a number of years ago and their decision in 2022 to increase coal royalties and the impact that that's had on the ability to provide cost of living relief. Their increases are related to a super profit where Queenslanders could share in the super profits when the coal prices spiked. In the 2024-2025 Cost of Living Action Plan by Queensland, it outlined how those royalties would fund direct relief, including electricity rebates, targeted support measures, and 50-cent public transport. Meanwhile, New South Wales lost that opportunity. One estimate suggests that we may have missed $23 billion during record coal profits, another $62 billion of potential foregone revenue. And while they now have stabilised, Queensland is still sharing in those windfall profits. I wanted to mention a couple of constituents who have spoken to me, and one spoke about public transport, saying this month, she's catching the beeline, says, this month I've already spent $95 just getting to and from work. That's a significant part of my pay. On average, it's about $10 a day at peak hour. Next week I'm working 6 days. And I did want to mention there that Queensland Premier only last week announced that it's 1 year since they introduced 50-cent public transport fares that was funded by those super profits from the coal royalties. To mention another, I know we've discussed nurses earlier today in the House and affordable housing for key workers, but I had a conversation last week with a nurse who mentioned that she can no longer afford to live in Pittwater. Her partner's also in the police force, and they estimate that about 60% of their colleagues live more than an hour away. And I know the member for Manly and the member for Wakehurst were involved in the essential worker housing inquiry earlier, well, probably last year, or I'm looking at the member for Manly now, last year, and just calling on the government. I know they've responded to that inquiry, but to take action on those recommendations. I also wanted to mention seniors quickly as well, and I had one senior, Tim, contact me, who does consider himself fortunate because he's in a position where he can have a reverse mortgage on his house, but he did say, though he outlined his costs, $2,300 Northern Beaches Council rates, $400 for water, and we know that's increasing, $500 for CTP, although he acknowledges he does own a car, and $600 for car registration. He said he is on the pension, and those costs are basically 3.25 times the fortnightly income, eating up all his pension and ask the question, how does the government expect seniors to pay? I suppose one other thing there, he mentioned it was hard to downsize because of stamp duty, and so that's another area of reform that we could be looking at to assist seniors and their downsizing of houses.